everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Anderson. I am a freelance artist and teacher hoping to inspire creativity. If you would like more videos like these, please take a second to like and subscribe down below. It really helps in the algorithm of YouTube to help get my videos seen to more people. If you want to receive notifications of when I go live, please make sure to hit the bell and choose all notifications. If you have any questions during or after the class, make sure to pop a comment down below and I will answer it as soon as I can. I'll be leaving timestamps down below so you can skip ahead to the start of class, but I will be sharing announcements as well as supplies, so make sure to stick around for that. If interested in learning more about my classes, please follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and feel free to check me out on Patreon where I teach exclusive classes to those who support me. In Patreon, I also give traceables for all of my live classes, including this one. Lastly, if you would like to share your work after class with me and others who painted along with us, please head over to Facebook, as I have an artist community where you can share your finished painting with us. I'll leave links for all of that in the description box below. Thanks for joining me, and let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to another live class. So this live class is going to be specifically geared towards making cards. So you can still paint this as a normal, on a normal canvas. You can paint it for a nursery or a gift for someone. I think that would be really cute as well, but I wanted to kind of make it dual purpose. So for right now, I'm going to make it into a card that I can then send out for a Valentine's card. You can also give this to your kids or your spouse, or there's just so many different people that you could give this to, because it is not necessarily, it's just like family love instead of like two specific, bunnies. So that's kind of the idea. So yeah, I'll be doing a card, but if you want to do this on a canvas, you can for sure do that. Here I do have the traceable. Somebody asked before class started if the traceable is only available for Patron supporters. It is only available for Patron supporters. However, I will be going over just like basic shapes if you want to draw it yourself, which is totally fine. That's totally up to you. This traceable is only for those who maybe need a little bit of extra help in drawing or don't want to draw it on. I gift that to supporters, and that's why it's only available to them, because it's more of like a gift to them. But if you do need that, it's just a $5 thing. It's like, give me a coffee or something like that. It's just a way to support me as an artist and me as a teacher, because I do these classes for free. So if you do want that, it's available in my Patreon. There's links everywhere. I'll link it up above. There's links in the chat, link in the description. Feel free to go and grab that now while we go over supplies if you would like that. Hello everyone coming in. Yeah, say hi. We love hearing where you're from and who you're painting with. I think in the description or somewhere it says that this is a juniors class. It's not necessarily a juniors class. I typically will gear it towards juniors or like younger people, but honestly, they're just really good practice, and I do mine in my sketchbook. This is the sketchbook I have. I list it in the description below, and I use it for just all sorts of things. These are the cards we did in December. I do cards in them. I also have it came in a 3-pack, so I also do, I have one for watercolor, one for acrylic, and one for cards. So these are all like the illustrations that I've done for kids classes, more of sketchbook classes. And they're really nice because it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. It doesn't take a whole lot of space, and because it's a smaller scale, they're quicker paintings, which I find are a little refreshing sometimes. When you're doing big paintings all the time, sometimes it can get like, oh, they take so long, and then you have to stop and you have to go back to them. So sometimes doing the smaller scale is nice. And right now I'm even doing a smaller scale because I'm only doing half of what I normally do because it is like literally perfect size for a card. So all the materials I use are in the description. I'm going to go over them real fast because they are a little bit different than my normal canvas classes. So this is I think it's 8.5 by 5.5. It's a multimedia book, and it does come in a 3-pack, which is really nice because you can have different things in different books. And so it's a multimedia paper. It is not actual canvas, but what's nice about it is that it's good for acrylics and it's also good for watercolor. At least that's what I use for it. And it's really, multimedia. That's it's in the name. So that is what I'm using, and it's literally the perfect size. So this is the 5.5 by 4.25. It's literally the perfect size for making cards. So it's so nice. So I literally just put this on the corner of it, and I just draw a line down it, and it's perfectly half. So that's kind of how I do that. The cards, there's no specific brand of cards that I use, because I'm really it's just a blank canvas that I am going to be cutting this and then gluing it on the top. So that's what I'll be, but I do have those listed in the description as well if you want to buy the cards that I'm using. They're just standard 4.25 by 5.5 cards. I have my water, I have my colors. Colors are really up to you. I have my black and my white, my raw umber. You could use, if you have the exact color of bunny that you want to do, like maybe you want to do a gray bunny, or you can do pink bunnies or green bunnies, or literally you could do whatever bunny color you want. I typically like to start out with darker colors because I can always lighten them, but it's harder to go darker. So I have a raw umber. If you have a color of tan that you want to use that. You don't need to mix colors if you don't need to. But yeah, so I have my raw umber, I have my medium yellow, I have my red and my pink. I'm not totally sure which one I'm gonna use. I might use a little bit of both. And then I have a blue listed on the description as a supply list, just in case people don't have brown and would like to make a brown. So you can make a brown from the primary colors, which is your red, yellow, and blue. So there's that. But I don't necessarily think I'm going to be using the blue unless I do little tiny details. But this is such a small painting that I don't even know if I'll get to those. Yeah, so that is the paint colors. As for other supplies that you might not think about, I do have a stick of Elmer's glue. It's specifically washable school glue because my kids are in kindergarten and preschool, and that's what I have. So it works great. So this is the stuff that it is purple and then it turns white when it dries, which is helpful. So at the end, I will show you how I cut it and then glue it on, provided my painting dries accordingly. Otherwise, I'll show you how to do it on a different one. Okay. As for brushes are honestly up to you and what you're comfortable with. I'm on a very small scale today. So my brushes are going to be on the smaller scale. So I have a tiny little filbert, as well as a small round brush. And then I also have a tiny liner brush. So these are the brushes that I will be using. I don't know if it's going to focus. But these are the brushes I'm going to be using. So small filbert. Maybe if I go over here. It's not much better. But yeah, small filbert, round brush, and a tiny round brush, which in my case is a liner brush. But again, you can use whatever you want. And then the other optional thing that you can have for the calligraphy or the writing, however you want to do that. And it doesn't need to be this font. This is just kind of the font that I ended up creating for it. It's no specific font. You can use a acrylic pen, and you can do this in any color. I have these listed on there as well, but maybe I'll use gold. Ooh. And then if you also, there's also the option to like line it and make it kind of more cartoony if that's what you want to do. So let's go ahead. Let me go over, if nobody has any questions, I'm going to go over how to draw this a little bit. Oh, and actually, before we do that, here, I'll leave this up in case you want to get a head start on it. I did want to show you in Patreon. I am so excited. I painted this last week and I cannot share it enough. Next Friday, so in 2 days, in my Patreon, we are going to be painting a abstract realism elephant. And I think I've shared it a few times in different places, but just in case you haven't seen it, this is what we are painting. Let me zoom out a little bit. Look at how pretty this guy is. So I am super excited because this class is going to be in my Patreon on Friday. It's for the magenta tier level, so it's just $10, and you'll also get access to literally every single class I've ever taught in Patreon. So if you've ever seen a Patreon class that you've wanted, if you get in there for this one, you can also paint that one. And you'll have access for either the whole month, or if you decide to stay, you'll have access for longer, as well as more classes to come. So yeah, this one's probably one of my favorite that I've done. It was so much easier than I thought it was going to be, and it came out so nice. So that is an exciting thing. But yeah, let's go ahead and start. I think that's my only announcement. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go over some quick tips for how to draw this. Essentially, see if I can draw it. This is like an awkward view for me, because usually I draw down. So essentially you're going to draw a snowman, and you want to try to figure out where you're going to place this. So if you put this in half, it's going to be just on the left side of like the halfway mark. So here's the edge, and this is the middle. So I would say it's kind of it's still in the middle, but it's on like the left side. So you're going to draw essentially a snowman, and then you're going to connect all those dots. So here's the middle. I'm just going to draw a very line, and you're going to draw a circle, like a big circle, and I'm drawing very lightly. I am not pushing very hard, drawing very lightly, and this is so that I can erase any lines that I don't want. Then I'm going to draw a little bit smaller ball, and then either the same or a tiny bit smaller. And that's kind of the base. So then what you're going to do is you're going to connect the top and the bottom one. Okay? And then the top one, you're going to come out and make those ears. And the ears come down to just below the top of the bottom of the biggest circle. Okay? We're just doing general shapes right now. If it helps, you can erase the connection between the top and the bottom one of this middle piece, this middle section right here. The top of the second one, this middle part, this is where your arm is going to start. So if you wanted to, you could kind of just lightly draw that. That's kind of close to where it's going. Here, I'll zoom in a little bit. See that, how it's kind of coming in? And then you can go here down to the bottom. Just go straight out from the very bottom, and that's gonna be your little foot. And the other foot is just gonna come, you're just gonna make another one. And there's like a little, like that. This goes in a little bit, and then you're gonna make a little half circle right there. Okay, add a little tail to the back side, which kind of looks like a little leaf, if you think about it. Little leaf coming out the end. Okay. And then where this arm is coming out, you're gonna just figure out where you want the nose, and that's where you're going to make a flat spot where the head is. And at any part, if you need to erase lines, go for it. So I'm gonna go ahead and erase these lines that I don't need anymore. And you can give the bunny more curves at any part. Oops. I'm going to start the ear down here. Give it some more shape a little bit. And I'm just looking at the reference and going from there, adding your details. This arm comes all the way down to the shoulder. You can draw the second arm there. All right, so now that we got most of the bunny, the main bunny, we can start putting in our other bunny. And the eyes are going to be almond shape, while it's a little bit bigger on the top. Like that. So now you can just do another circle if you want. Here, let me get my red one. Okay. So you have this coming out here, and you're going to draw a circle that comes from here. So this top, the top of her arm, comes around and creates that ball. So that's the placement. Okay. So again, let me show you here. This here is going to be that ball. And from there, that ball is going to be the head right here. And take your time. Like if you need to, you know, sit there and erase a little bit, that's totally fine. I'm just drawing very loosely, and I can always refine and change things. Add a couple ears, big fluffy little tail. Get a little foot right here on the bottom. And that's where you can add the hand, her hand, or the parent hand. And then add the baby hand on top of that. Such an awkward position to draw right now, but you get the idea. And that's essentially it. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave this up here for a couple more minutes. And remember that it doesn't need to be like perfect. The lines don't need to be perfect. You are gonna go over all of this, and you can always fix things as you go. Like I think I even made her head maybe a little bit like big, so I can come behind here and maybe make it a little smaller if I want. Anything that's left uncovered I can erase later. Like it's pretty forgiving when you're drawing like this. Okay. Okay, so I will leave this up for a little bit longer. And we'll go from there. Hopefully that was helpful. So again, you don't need the traceable, but if you would like it, it does save time and it takes all the guesswork out of it, and you can just trace it on there. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and put this aside. Let's go ahead and paint our little bunnies. I'm gonna go ahead and make the color that I would like it, the tan color. So what I'm going to do is, actually, I'm gonna do the background first because that just makes sense. So I'm gonna grab some pink and some red. And then I'm also gonna grab a tiny bit of brown. So you can make the accent color, which is this pink, any color you want. So let's say you're painting this for a nursery. You can paint it whatever color the nursery is. So if you're going botanical, then you can paint it versions of like that like low saturated green, kind of grayish green colors, or even bright greens, dark greens. If it's color, and you can make it really bright or however you want. We're really just painting like the area around the rabbit, the bunny. So I'm going to grab some white, and we're just going to play around with these colors a little bit. I have a palette knife that I'm going to be mixing my colors. I use this in probably all of my classes because it is very nice. It is very helpful. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to get out some of this pink and mix some white with it. See where it is. I'm gonna add a little bit of red to it, just so it's like on the reddish side of pink. So my dark color and my light color end up being roughly the same. And then I'm gonna take some of this red and mix it with my brown. And that was a lot of brown, so I'll need to mix more red, maybe some pink in here. And that's going to be my dark color around like the shadow part of the bottom. Okay, that's fun. I'm going to do one more thing and take some of this pink. I think this pink might be too light, or sorry, too dark. So I'm just going to add some white to it over here. Just in case I end up using that color instead of the other one. All right, I'm gonna take my, let's go ahead and move this over here since you don't need to see the drawing anymore. All right, so I'm gonna use this light pink, no water, I'm not using any water, and I'm just going to put it around the rabbit, the larger bunny. And honestly, I like seeing the canvas like detail, or the texture at this point. I think it's kind of fun. So I'm just very lightly brushing the color up. I'm very light on my brush, because when you get barely any paint on your brush, the harder you push, the more paint is going to be put on your paper. And if you push lighter, then there's not going to be as much. So now I'm going to go in with some of this red, and I'm just going to put just a little bit right where there should be like a shadow. So underneath the tail, underneath the foot right here, just to give a little bit of dimension for the floor. That's probably all we need. It's a good amount. So I'm going to rinse out my brush. Just enough to give a little pop of color. That's all we need. Okay, so now let's go ahead and make our color, our brown color. I'm gonna grab my yellow. And I'm going to mix yellow. I'm actually gonna mix more than this, because I wanna make sure I have some for both bunnies. All right, I'm gonna mix yellow, white, a little bit of brown. So I have mostly yellow, maybe half of that is white, and then a tiny bit of brown, and then I'm just going to add a tiny bit of this red. All right, so mine is looking a little bit too much like what's that type of mustard? Dijon mustard, which means I have too much brown in comparison to red. So I'm gonna go back to this red and add just a little bit more. And I'm also gonna add more white. All right, so that is brightening the color to a little bit more like a tan. It's still on the yellow side. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more, and actually I want it to gray out just a tad bit. So I'm gonna come in here and add just the tiniest bit. And when I say tiniest bit, I mean like, is there anything actually on your palette knife? Like that tiny bit. Because black will take over your color, and you can always put in more. It's really hard to like take out. And if you're, I'm wondering why I'm using black. So if you want to gray out color, you can add gray. Since there's already white being added to this, adding black will gray it out and make it more of a tan, more of a diluted color in terms of saturation than if not using black. So I think I still want it a little bit more, so I'm going to add a little bit more black and a little bit more white to counteract. I don't want it to get too much darker. It's already kind of on the dark side. On the dark side. Okay, this is like super close. Also, you can also just like do whatever color you want. I am a I love color matching. I love color matching. And it's really helpful for my style of painting because I really do enjoy realism. So being able to look at a color and being able to really interpret what I'm seeing into a color I'm creating on the palette is really fun for me. That might not be fun for everyone. So if you find a color that you like and you're like, it doesn't look like hers, but I like it, and you don't want to like fiddle with it anymore, you don't need to. Find whatever color you want for your painting and go for there. But if you want to challenge yourself and really get the color that you see and you're not there yet, play around with your color. Pause the video. Even though this is live, you can pause it and you can come back to it. Yeah, so okay, I think that's the color I'm going to use. I think I like it. And then I'm just going to get more white because I'm going to add white to certain parts of it. Okay. So I'm just going to take my filbert one, and I'm going to make a whiter color of it just so I have something to pull from. So I have a lighter tan to pull from. And this is, I think that will be the base color for the baby, maybe? Because we're going to do the baby first. So the first coat is literally just that. It's just a first coat. You don't need to worry about shading or anything like that. Just get the color on it. And then you can always, this is what is going to be called the ugly stage of its like base colors, but it really is important in acrylics. On my page, I'm showing off how I created a wedding portrait, and I've only posted like the first part of it, and I'm just like cringing because it's like there's only one layer of like the faces and most of everything else, and it's like you can see strokes, you can like see through the paint. Like the blending was like not good because it doesn't need to be, it doesn't have to be, right? Because it's just the first part of it. But in my head I'm just like, no, it's really hard for me to share unfinished work as a artist who teaches, because I feel like sometimes people expect you to have like finished works all the time, but that's not always how it works out. And then there's the other side of things that some people like to see the process. So by and large, that requires you to show the in-between stages. Alright, I'm using just a tiny bit of water to help it kind of go on the canvas, but not enough to really dilute anything. All right, now I'm going to, oh, I forgot to do this one. Okay. I left the ear, the inside of the ear, a little bit lighter so that I can come behind it with like a pink. So now I'm going to come behind with the darker color. And at this stage, it's almost like just coloring in the lines a little bit. I'm going to stay away from her belly for now because that's going to be a little bit lighter. All right, so I'm gonna kind of blend it into that light color that we did for the baby. And then I'm gonna go into some white, put that down, go in for a little bit more white. And I'm just gonna allow it to blend in a little bit. If it doesn't blend in perfectly, that's okay. Just a little bit. We'll be able to blend it more intentionally when we do the second coat. I'm also putting white on the tail, like the underside of the tail, as well as a little bit underneath the foot, or I should say feet. Now I'm going to go into the face. And I'm actually going to start with the ears first. And just like I did with the baby, I'm going to kind of stay away from the middle of the ear a little bit and just kind of barely brush it so that I can come behind it later with a pink. Alright, so that's going to look a little weird. Let's go ahead and put in the eyes so that so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to go in with some black and put in both the kid eyes and the adult eyes. When you're using a liner brush, you do want to make sure that your ratio of water to paint is good. Because if it's not, it'll be hard for you to move your paint, or it'll be too watery and it will end up being see-through. I'm also going to add some details like around the nose. And in the mouth a little bit. Alright, so that's mainly what I want to do. I can add you can add the white now, or I would just make sure that it's dry before you add any white like on the eyes, like the reflection and stuff. But now that we have that, we can go ahead and do a second coat. I'm going to start off with the belly first. And just add the tiniest bit of this lighter color on the edge. And if you've never blended on paper and you're using paper right now, you do need to go a little bit faster and work in smaller sections, because it does, the paper sucks out the moisture really fast. So it is harder to blend on paper than it is canvas. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this second coat. And as I go, I'm just going to add tiny highlights in the fur as I go along. Maybe there's some highlights on the top of the knee, or you can pick and choose where you want to put them, if you want to put them. And you can just blend that. I'm going to take a little bit of this brown and mix it with the yellow color. Just so I can maybe get a little bit of a darker color on the edge here. I'm gonna go back in with my lighter color and just try to blend that a little bit more. Do the same thing with my little white here and blend that in. So just working little piece by piece. So now I'm going to do the top. I'm going to put this up a little bit so that I can get to it better. Oops. That didn't change it. Oh, there we go. All right, now it's a little bit easier because it was so low. It's hard to paint. That's small. All right, so again, I'm just filling in this second coat. just a little bit of light on this side. And now I'm going to do the second coat of the bunny, the smaller bunny. Starting at the top, just also starting at the back. Grabbing just a little bit of water just to help it flow a little bit better. And then I'm going to go in with a tiny bit of white to put on the underneath side as well. All right, I'm going to grab this pink and just put it in here just a little bit. Maybe it needs to be a little bit brighter with some white. And I'm going to put it in this area. And then if you also, you can put that on the cheek. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of white on the underside of the mom, just because I think I just spaced or forgot when I was putting in the undercoat to do that. So it's not as bright, so I'll have to wait and put a couple other coats on it, but that's okay. Right, I'm going to use my smallest brush with this red that we created for the shadow, and I'm going to put that red inside the mouth. And then also on the nose. If you don't plan on outlining things, you can use shadows to give dimension and give the viewer like where things are. So for instance, both of these ears were the same color, and in order to give that like difference, I went ahead and just darkened the part right next to the other ear. And you can just add certain things to give a little bit of contrast so that it gives it shape. And you'll see that even here, you can't see where the leg kind of starts and stops. And I'm just going to give a tiny bit of shadow where essentially the seams are, little creases. And it tells me where everything is. Just a little bit of shadow in certain places gives it dimension. Or even highlight. Alright, so I'm just kind of fixing this area over around her mouth, making it blend a little bit more. Looking cute. I'm gonna go ahead and put on those white eye things, the eye reflections. And I need to do another layer on the small bunny before I do that, because I went over it with that lighter color. Now, if you want to add lines, I would suggest taking the main tan color that we used and mixing it a little bit with brown, and you can use that for any lines that you want to do. And I would encourage only to do lines where you feel like you're not really sure what's going on. So, for instance, all of the hands and feet, I would say, like all the paws, I would say would probably be good to do. But not like all of it. So for instance here, I did this part, but I didn't take this line all the way up because there's a very clear line that's already there. And I only did this part of the line, but I didn't take it all the way under because there's already, like, that's already clear where, like, what that is. Like, that's the bottom of her foot. So I don't feel like it's necessary for me to line it. You can if you want to, like, that's fine, but and then I'm gonna line the back of this here. I'm gonna put in her eyebrow. I think I started the eyebrow too far in, so I'm just going to there we go. All right, I would say that side of the, and this will really give you practice in like line work. If you're not good at line work, this will give you practice in it. Because these are tiny little lines that we're doing. And honestly, having the right brushes really does make a difference. So if you want these brushes that, I mean, I got them off of Amazon and I've loved using them. These specific ones are not the same brand as I normally use. I normally use Grabby. These ones, I think they're Zem, Z-E-M. It's a kit specifically, just a bunch of different liner brushes. And this is the, I don't know how to read that. It's like probably 0.1 or something like that. It's pretty small. I just realized I never did a second coat of her hand. So let me go ahead and do that real fast. And again, if you don't want to line it, if you like it how it is, then that is totally fine too. You don't need to line it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put in my highlights on the eyes one more time. Just make sure they are in the spot that I want. All right, and that is pretty much it for that part. Now for the writing, you can do one of two things. You could do really whatever you want to do. If you have a watercolor brush pen, you could do that. If you have an acrylic marker, you could do that. If you have a brush that you like to do calligraphy with, you could do that. There's a whole bunch of ways that you could do this part of it. I can't decide what I'm gonna do. I think I'm going to just go for it and paint it on. I might regret this. I think in the future, if you were to do like a few of these, write this first, like write it before you paint it. That way you don't do all this work for the painting part and then mess up the words, and then you've just spent an hour painting. Yeah, so I'm just going to, what's nice about this is I can erase anything that, you know, I don't go over. I'm going to go ahead and use this reddish color, reddish pink color. And I think I'm going to use my liner brush for this because I can always make it thicker. Can't really make it thinner. And we're just gonna go for it. I'm actually going to put this behind it so I can just look at it. So this is what I have going on. I have it right next to it just so I can see. I can just look right there. there's no real like rhyme or reason for how I'm doing this. Essentially, when I'm doing calligraphy with a brush, I'm really trying to have a good amount of water in my paint so that it flows nicely, but not so much water that it drips. And I'm trying to keep my brush loaded, so I'll do like one stroke and then I'll go back in for paint. Like, I don't try to push harder because then your line will get thicker. Just go back in for paint. Like, that is totally fine. And when I have a bunch of paint on my brush, don't start at a tip. Like, don't start at the end of a line because those are where they are the thinnest. And if you have a lot of paint on your brush, most likely you want to do like a thicker line. So for instance, I just got paint, and I'm not going to go to the top of the bee. I'm going to go to somewhere in the middle of the bee and slowly start there and then make it thicker and then thin it out. And when I say make it thicker, I just push down a little bit harder and that fans out the brush a little bit. And I'm going to come back to those tiny things when either I have less paint or I've done one of the thicker ones, or I go back in for paint and I only put a little bit on my brush. The lowercase letters I find are a lot easier than the larger case letters, because essentially whenever I do a downstroke, it's going to be thick, and whenever I do an upstroke, it's going to be thinner. So it's a little bit more consistent, I feel like, than doing the uppercase letters. Excuse me. Alright, just a couple more letters, and then I will be all done. I definitely think that it's come out very, very cute. Definitely a lot of line work practice. If you chose to do that. Time to do the heart. Ouch. Good. Alright, so I'm just kind of thickening the edges of the heart to give it a little bit of contrast in the line thickness. And there we go. There you have it. Okay, so for the end of this class, I'm going to show you how I kind of attach it all. So I'm going to go ahead and move this back. Okay, so this is how it is. Most of that is going to be dry. That's going to be dry by the time I get to it. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut off this whole page. Now theoretically I probably would have like done something on the other page to fill it in, or I would have just cut down the line, so but I already drew on this, so that's fine. Now I'm going to very carefully cut down the center where that line is. I'm going to try to make it as straight as possible. And then for me, I cut, when I cut it off, I cut it just down. I didn't cut it where the perforated part was. Perforated. I cut it where like the holes were, so that I could easily cut where I want it. So now I'm just gonna cut where that that line is. But because I'm cutting it, it'll give it a cleaner look than if I try to tear it. So it's super easy to cut, but it'll look cleaner because I've cut it rather than if I try to pull it off. Okay, so that is the cute little card. Ah, it's so cute, guys. Look how cute. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my card. This is the card that I bought off of Amazon. I think the ones that I got came in like a 100 pack, so I have plenty of cards to play with. Theoretically, you could paint this right on the card, but I find that this card material isn't necessarily made for having paint and things like that, specifically for watercolor, but also for acrylic. If I were doing something, this one I probably could have done on it, because there's only certain portions, like there's only a certain part of it that is actually acrylic, like it didn't paint the entire thing. I probably could have done that, but for ones that you paint the entire picture, I would definitely do it on multimedia paper rather than the actual card. So this lines up pretty well. If you have any hangover after you're done, you can just go along and cut that. I can see that I have just the slightest bit of hangover here. I could either leave that or I could cut it after I'm done. It's totally up to you whether or not you want to get that specific. But this is what it's going to look like. So let me move my paint real fast. Perks of having two little areas right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I'm gonna get a piece of paper or cardboard or something like that, and I'm gonna take my glue and I'm going to glue the entire back of it. Mainly I'm going to focus on the edges of it, and then a little bit in the middle, but I really want to make sure that the edges are glued down so that it doesn't lift. So I'm gonna do just a little bit of it in the middle, and then I'm gonna focus on the edges, and this is why we're doing it on a piece of board, so that I can move this and it's not gonna get it on the rest of it. So that's what it looks like. I'm gonna move that, get it out of the way. And then I'm just going to put this on this card. And it'll be movable for a little bit of time while you get it kind of situated. And what's nice about that purple is that you like know where you've put glue on. Okay. So after you get it all set and you get where you want it, you're gonna put something heavy under it, okay? So I'm just gonna put this under here. Boop, can't even see it. So it's now sitting under here. You're gonna leave that, I usually leave mine overnight, but it's probably dry within, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes probably. But if your paper is buckled, depending on how much paint and water you put on the painting, you could either leave it in the book, close the book, and put something heavy on that before you even glue it on. I would highly recommend having it as close to flat as you can before trying to glue it on, because that will help the process of it gluing flat. But then also after you put it in, after you glue it on, put it under something flat so that it really does dry flat. And then once it dries flat, you can take it out, you can trim it up if you need to, and then that's it. So I don't know if I should wait until it is done before I say bye, but let me go through my ending spiel and then we'll take it out and we'll see it, okay? So thank you so much for joining me. I do have a artist community where you can share your cards and your paintings with me. So if you did paint it with me, I have a Facebook page, a Facebook community. I will share that link right now. So here's the link for that. Go ahead and go over there, ask to join, make sure you read the rules, and it's a free group. You can go over there, and it's actually a really great place to see all of the work that I've done and all of the tutorials available online, whether in my Patreon or free on YouTube. Just click the hamburger on the top of the app on like the timeline, like the home page of it, and it will open up. You can go to the albums part of it and you'll be able to see literally all of the things I've done. It's probably easier to see on desktop if you're able to do that, because on mobile it'll just have like 1 per row, versus on desktop it has like 4 or 5 per row, and you can just scroll and see all of the classes available. So that's a really good reason to join, because you get to see everything in one spot. And within everything there's links to the different classes and wherever they go. So that's also a definite perk of being in my community. And then lastly, if you are not on my Facebook page, that is where I send out most of my information. I post daily on there about things going on like behind the scenes, as well as upcoming classes. I post all the links there. It's just, if you are wanting to get plugged into all the stuff that I'm doing, definitely go over to Facebook, follow me there, because that's where I will post literally everything. So yeah, if you like this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up and you share it if you want to. Even if you don't share it, if you just click the share button, it'll still help in the algorithm. You don't even have to share it. You could share it, that'd be nice. But okay, so here we go. I'm gonna put this cap on my glue. This is what it looks like. It is pretty much on there. It's not going anywhere. Look at how cute that came out. So you could give this to anyone. This is actually would be a really cute illustration for like a nursery, I think. I'm just gonna go ahead and clean up this line real fast. All I have to do is open it up and cut along the actual card line. I'm gonna do this off screen so I can see what I'm doing. And honestly, you don't even need to do that if you don't want to. Perfect. All right. There we go. There you have it. Cute little card. I have other like Christmas card tutorials too, so if you want to get a jump start on Christmas cards, what is it, like February? But hey, you know, you never know. If you want to get a head start on that, I do have other card tutorials. And if you have suggestions of anything you want to do as a card, let me know. I love making cards and doing this sort of thing. So definitely comment down below. Let me know if you have ideas of what you want me to do next. And yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you next week. Bye guys.